Weidman.
Oh my God.
Thank you. My mom's totally geeking out right now. Thank you so much
Thanks
for coming on.
Really appreciate it.
So you guys were both fascinated with paranormal activity, correct? But you actually had a near-death experience. Nick,
I
is this
did. My
correct?
mom saved my life, actually. I fell from a tree when I was about 8 years old, ripped open my whole entire arm, right to the bone. It was on a cyclone fence. I was a very hyperactive kid. So falling down, my mom was like, "What the heck did you do this time?" So she runs over, picks me up, and I just remember the last thing I said to her is, I woke up and I said, "Mom, I love you." And I just blacked out. And I remember seeing all these faces just hovering over me. But I don't know if that was people trying to help me, but she said she just brought me there and the ambulance picked me up. So I'm not sure if this led me on my quest. You never know, but I'm so fascinated with the paranormal, and that's all I've been doing.
And Katrina, you actually grew up in a haunted house,
Yeah,
correct?
multiple ones. My parents were like really bad at picking houses, apparently. So we had multiple haunted houses, and it was, you know, nothing terrible, but, you know, apparitions. My sister actually saw a little girl that looked like me, but I was in the next room, so there was no way.
A little girl apparition?
A little girl apparition. And multiple families that had lived in that house after us have come forward with stories that were similar to ours. So, you know, things like that was what we grew up with. But I would say my scariest experiences have definitely been since I've been working with Nick on lockdown. We've had insane experiences.
I have to say I'm a believer in the afterlife and the spirit world, and I terrified myself by watching one of your shows last night in preparation for this, and we're all obsessed.
Yeah.
Cindy, though, you said that you had weird experiences in a house as well.
I did. We have two little Yorkshire Terriers, and they were at this is our home that was in Virginia. They were at the bottom of the stairs, and they began barking, but they were following. As they barked, their little heads were following something that I couldn't see, but there was definitely something there that they could either see or feel. But the second thing is not an experience I had, but our family business, we have warehouses, and the night shift guys would tell me, my dad has passed. They would say that they would see my dad walking amongst the beer stacks and walking amongst all those things. And I kept saying, "Well, call me next time. I want to see it. Please call me." But and they continue to see him. And these are people that, you know, that I don't have a personal relationship with other than
But I think that's what's fascinating about everything that we're doing. It brings people together to talk about these things. And I think that's the ultimate question, no matter what your beliefs are, what your background is, or where you live in the world. We all have that same question. We're all going there. What happens when you pass away?
What happens?
You know, and I think that's the ultimate question. Even if you don't believe, right? It's still believing something happens. So what does happen? We have all these unexplainable things that have been happening for centuries. And we're just there to try to figure them out.
But you guys are locking yourself down at the spooky places.
72 hours.
72 hours. And so the thought behind that is, you know, when, for example, the workers at your dad's factory, they're not out looking for ghosts. It's the longer time that they spend in these places, the more happens to them. So that's kind of the thought behind paranormal lockdown. If we spend more time in these places, what will we be able to gather as far as objective evidence? And we've been pretty successful in gathering that.
What's your scariest experience?
So for me, this is the only time I've ever wanted to leave a lockdown, and the only time I've ever wanted to cry because I've had something happen, but I was scratched. We were in England investigating a very famous case. It's been haunted since 1966. And I was just standing there. I wasn't even really doing anything. And I felt this intense burning on my stomach. And I know from talking to clients for years what that meant. And I lifted up my two shirts that I was wearing, and there were fresh scratch marks on me. And one of them had started to break the skin. So I was terrified. Nick saw me. I lost my mind for about 30 minutes.
And we were in there for 100 hours. Too.
Oh my gosh.
You had to stay in there after you got the scratch?
Stay in there. Him. I have him to thank for this.
I confronted it after. I almost fell from the attic too. It was actually terrifying. A clock came flying down at me and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, but these are the things. Until you experience stuff like that, we're not out there to prove ghosts exist. We're not out there to disprove ghosts exist. We're trying to discover something new. That's all we're looking for, is what are these unexplainable things?
What do you say to the skeptics?
A lot. And it kind of goes off what Nick just said is, you know, again, we're not out to prove or disprove. But at the end of the day, these things happen. And they've been happening for centuries all over the world. So if we just take half of those experiences and say they're hogwash, it's, you know, they can be explained away, we still have experiences happening. So even if it's all psychological, that still deserves explanation and exploration. On top of that, you know, as we develop develop the field even more, we'll have better technology, because right now we don't know what these entities are made up of. So we might not have the right equipment to properly document them, which is what we try to do during our lockdown.
Well, this is what's interesting. You're using a 3D mapping camera to document evidence of paranormal activity. And when you look at the footage, people appear as stick figures. You went to the White Hill Mansion in New Jersey on your show, and a young child showed up. This is spooky. Take a look. Take a look.
Whatever it is, it's right underneath the table. This is amazing.
Hi.
I can see it. I'll direct you to where he's standing. He's scared. He's like right.
It's like cold. You can touch my hand. My hand's like really
This is
cold.
amazing.
It's okay. I know we might look scary. We're not scary. We don't mean to be. My middle finger feels really weird right now.
He's holding your hand.
My middle finger feels like numb, almost.
It's really compelling. I mean, it takes things like that to open up your mind to the possibilities that maybe there is just more happening out there that we don't fully comprehend yet.
Right.
And as human beings, we're just looking for those things. We're living at these locations. We're engaging the environments. We're trying to discover what are these things that we're encountering. And when skeptics come into involved, like we were talking about, sometimes having an experience, like for instance, recently I just launched this VidiSpace, right? And on VidiSpace, this online streaming platform, we were shooting live, and I was filming this guy, and he was a skeptic. And he was standing there, there's a pile of wood on the wall. All of a sudden, he's like, I don't believe in this stuff, this and that. This piece of wood flew at him live on camera. And I filmed him, I'm like, oh my God, he jumps, he gets scared. He's like, all right, how is this possible? How could this be? How has something moved? There can't be any physics behind that. He became open-minded. He's like, I need to learn more.
Yeah, and that's the thing. People get very caught up on the terms that we have, and they're tied to personal beliefs. So, but when we strip that all away, we still have these experiences that are happening that science can't explain yet.
Do we have time to ask if you're, how do you know your house is haunted?
I would love to come to the warehouse.
Yeah.
I really want to
But
come
are
to the
there
warehouse.
signs? Are
I'd
there
like to see
signs?
my dad.
Like, are there signs?
There
Quickly.
are. There are certain things you can look for. The ultimate question is who and what are we exactly dealing with? You might think you're talking to someone on the other side, but are we? I mean, when you hear your voice come through on a digital recorder, or you see a figure being mapped out in the environment, what is it that we're actually communicating?
There's
I
a
am
cold room.
So
cold
I'm sorry
almost
I
for
could
natural
talk about this
explanation.
literally all day, but we
Yeah,
are being
me
wrapped.
too.
Thank you so much, Nick
Thank
and
you.
Katrina.
Thank you.
Paranormal Lockdown airs Wednesday nights on Destination America through the end of March. And stay tuned for news on season 3. We'll be right back. Thank you, guys. Yeah.